All right, welcome. If you're sitting on the board or you're part of the senior leadership at a SACCO in Kenya, this explainer is designed specifically for you. We're about to unpack the really critical deposit-taking regulations of 2010. The goal here is to give you the clarity you need to lead with confidence and, of course, to make sure you're compliant.
So let's just jump right in with a pretty important question for every single person watching. Is your team, is your leadership truly ready for the immense demands that come with being a deposit-taking institution? Because, this goes way beyond just daily operations. We're talking about governance, we're talking about risk, and ultimately, where the buck stops.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get into the why behind all these rules. Then, we'll walk through the whole licensing journey step by step. After that, we'll talk about what it takes to keep your license, dive deep into those all-important capital numbers, and finally, look at what happens if things go wrong. Okay, let's get into it. First things first, let's get to the very core of this. Why do these regulations even exist in the first place? What's the real purpose here?
When you boil it all down, the goal is actually pretty simple. It's all about protecting your members' money. That's it. These regulations create a baseline, a set of minimum standards for how you operate and how you manage your finances. It's best to think of them as the guardrails on the highway. They're there to keep the entire sector safe, stable, and deserving of your members' trust.
So we know why the rules are there, but how does that translate into action? Well, the very first and maybe the biggest hurdle is getting that license. And I want to be clear, this is a formal, multi-step process. There are absolutely no shortcuts.
And this right here, this is the golden rule. It is non-negotiable. You simply cannot, under any circumstances, run a deposit-taking business without a valid license from the authority. And just so we're all on the same page, the authority means SASRA, the SACCO Society's regulatory authority. They are the gatekeepers.
So getting licensed isn't a one-and-done thing. It's a journey, really, with 5 very distinct stages. You start by submitting your application. If SASRA likes what they see, they'll give you a letter of intent. Now that's your green light to build out the required infrastructure, which they will actually come and inspect in person. If you pass, you get a compliance letter. You pay the fees, and then finally, that license is in your hands.
And let me tell you, that first application, it's a beast. You're not just filling out a couple of forms here. You are building a comprehensive case for your SACCO's viability from top to bottom. You'll need things like a detailed 3-year business plan, audited financials, and of course, proof you have the capital. And, so importantly, every single leader has to pass what they call the fit and proper test.
Now, the first financial step in this process is pretty small. We're talking about a non-refundable application fee of just 3,000 Kenyan shillings to get the ball rolling.
So, you get that letter of intent, and that's when things get really serious. Now you have to prove you're not just a plan on paper. You need the physical security, a real banking hall, a strong room, a safe. And just as crucially, you need the digital security, a solid information management system, and, of course, documented, airtight internal controls. All right, so you've done all the work, you've jumped through the hoops, and you have that license. Fantastic. But don't get too comfortable. Getting the license is a huge milestone for sure, but it's just the starting line. Keeping it is the real challenge. It is absolutely a marathon, not a sprint. Seriously, go grab your calendar right now. This is a date you cannot miss. Your license expires every single year on December 31st, and renewing it is not something you can do at the last minute. The rules say you have to get your renewal application in at least 90 days before it expires. That means your team needs to be starting this process at the latest by the end of September, every single year. But what if it all goes south and your license gets revoked? Look, this is so important to understand because the fallout hits on 2 levels. For the SACCO as an organization, it's basically game over. Assets are frozen, liquidation starts, and there's no path back. But for the officers, for you, it gets personal. You could be barred from ever working in the industry again, and you could even be looking at serious fines and actual jail time. Okay, let's change gears and talk about the big one. This is arguably the most critical piece of the puzzle when it comes to compliance, your capital adequacy. This is the financial foundation of your entire institution. It's the proof that you can handle losses and, most importantly, protect every single shilling your members have entrusted to you. If there is one number you take away from this whole thing, please let it be this one: 10 million
Kenyan shillings. That is the absolute minimum amount of core capital your SACCO must have in the bank. Period. This isn't a target to aim for. It's a hard floor you can never, ever drop below. If you do, it triggers immediate regulatory action. But it's not just about that 10 million shilling floor. Your financial health is tracked using these 4 key ratios, which, by the way, you have to report to SASRA every single month. The best way to think about this is like the dashboard in your car. It gives you a real-time, dynamic look at your stability, constantly measuring your capital against your assets and your deposits. And here's a quick word of warning. Please do not get complacent just because you're hitting these minimums. SASRA has the power to demand that you hold more capital if they see any red flags. Are you growing too fast for your own good? Does your loan book look a little shaky? Believe me, they are reading the story behind the numbers, not just the numbers themselves. So let's say you do fall short on that capital mandate. What happens then? Well, SASRA doesn't mess around. The consequences are swift, they're severe, and they are designed to get your full and immediate attention. The first hammer to fall is an immediate stop to your core business. They can order a total suspension of all your lending and investment activities. Just like that, their SACCO's main purpose is put on hold.
And then, any plans you had for growth, forget about them. They're put on ice immediately. Your SACCO will be flat out prohibited from buying or leasing any new property, stopping any physical expansion dead in its tracks.
And then, well, then comes the real gut punch. SASRA can actually forbid you from accepting any more deposits from your members. This is huge. It effectively cuts off the financial lifeblood of your entire organization, which, as you can imagine, makes any kind of recovery incredibly difficult. It's a drastic move, but it's designed to protect the members from a situation that's getting worse. So, this all brings us to one final big picture thought. As leaders, you can look at all these rules as just a checklist, right? Another bureaucratic headache you have to manage. Or you can see them for what they really are. A framework for building unshakable trust and for truly protecting the financial futures of the very people who put their faith in you. So the ultimate question isn't just, are we compliant? It's, is our governance strong enough to guarantee our members' security for decades to come?